Hi, Vinnie. I'm Eynat Guez, CEO, co-founder at Papaya Global. Happy to be here and to speak Papaya Global. Papaya Global is a global workforce management platform managing global payroll and global payments for multinational companies. And let's start the presentation.
Eynat, thank you for joining me. I know you are doing this from Israel, so it must be pretty late. Thank you for taking the time that late.
Papaya Global, let's start. Payroll. Payroll is a very, very tricky process in the organization. You know, if you ask the CEO, they tell you payroll is easy. We run payroll seamlessly. Everybody gets paid on time. It's working really, really, really great. If you'll ask the CFO, they'll tell you that payroll is the biggest nightmare that they have in the department. Everything is manual. They really struggle to understand how things are being done correctly and right. And every payroll cycle is really a pain by itself. If you ask the global payroll manager, they will tell you that for their perspective, they don't trust HR data. I mean, payroll data is completely different data than the HR data. And if you ask the employee, they just want to know and get the confidence that the payment is being made correctly and on time. This is the only thing that they want to know. They want zero friction, and really, they don't want to deal with that. So, Papaya Global, what is it that we are solving? Payroll is the most complex recurring process in the organization, and it's the biggest liability at the same time for the company, and the biggest expense that the company will probably occur on the ongoing basis. So we are here to make it different.
The biggest expense, is that because your verticals are mostly service sector verticals? Because in manufacturing and so on.
Because eventually, I mean, if you're looking on workforce cost, it's always the biggest expense in the organization. Sure. I mean, it's likely, I mean, it's hardly to find an organization that spend more on anything in the organization aside from people. We are here to make a difference. Accurate, secure, seamless. So Papaya Global delivers a total workforce solution for payroll, global UR, and contractors, from onboarding to payroll and payments in 160 plus countries.
Wow.
Some of the competitive landscapes. So the global payroll space is very fragmented. We can see kind of the competitive landscape divided by few main services. First, UR providers. What is UR? UR means employer of record. Employer of record means that you don't have your own local entity, yet you want to hire employees in a specific country. You're using employer of record, somebody on ground that can employ people on your behalf. It's a very, very busy domain, mainly in the last few years. We can see a lot of providers that are doing or providing the EUR model for companies. Yet, this is a very transactional model. You have a very specific need. And over time, if you are growing in this location, you're probably going to set up your own entity and transition to payroll. Then you have a lot of contractor providers, 1099 on the US kind of base, where you just need people for specific work, the specific scope of work. And on the payroll side, you have the global payroll providers, a few of them, but all of them are currently very heavy on implementation and integration, which make them less relevant for global growing companies that are spread around the globe. And in general, the average onboarding time and lifetime will be more than a year. So it's also very hard to implement quickly a global payroll solution in the organization. And you have the HCM US payroll, which will be great if they need to serve the US eventually field. They will be very limited, if any, solution on the global side. What makes Papaya so unique in what we are doing? We are a pure technology company. I mean, in very big comparison to everyone in the industry, we are pure technology player. We believe that payroll software needs to be similar and needs to be measured as a finance software in the organization seamlessly. We are shortening the onboarding time quite drastically. We can take an organization that is currently running around the globe and onboarded them end-to-end in less than 3 months' time. This is really the quickest onboarding time in the industry, and we are very proud of that. The whole solution is run on Papaya proprietary. Everything from payroll processing, onboarding of the employees through the payroll payments. We don't use third parties in our technology. This is why we can make it very customizable, location per location, and eventually create a very good customer experience.
So let me understand. You have 160 countries you support. You have a payroll
Yes.
engine for every one of them, and that's yours, or do you use partners?
No, we don't have a payroll engine in all of the countries. We have a compliance engine. So the way that we are eventually looking on payroll, we understand that currently payroll is a very complex process. Payroll is not going to be a self-service process probably in the next 2 decades, because government are just creating more and more complexity to payroll, which requires more and more professional eventually and knowledge and expertise. This is not about creating only the engine, because even if we would create engine to every single country, we would still need the experts to run it. So instead of trying to fight a battle that honestly nobody won, I mean, everyone that started creating their global payroll engine kind of gave up after 6, 7, or 10 the maximum payroll engine, because it's very hard job to maintain tons of local payroll engine. We are syncing to local payroll engine. We know how to validate the data. We know how to create a process where we can bring efficiency and we can bring accuracy to the payroll, but we don't replace not the expert and not the payroll engine in the country, but yet we are connecting to them and we can validate the data and we can assure the accuracy of their data. We are full total workforce solution. We can support all type of workers, payroll, ER, and contractors, which is a very unique to the industry. From our perspective, you don't need to run multiple providers in order to manage all of your workforce. The other way is correct. We actually believe that you need to have one software to run through your whole workforce in the organization. And our biggest win is when you know to answer in a real-time basis how many people works for you in the organization, regardless if they are payroll employees, contractors, and so on, and what is the current total cost of your workforce in the organization. So this is really the Papaya effect for us. Complete payroll mastery. We have a trusted partner, so we take very, very seriously local compliance. We understand that regulation these days, expertise of local compliance is something that we need to adapt and implement into our process and not to try and replace them. We have a cutting edge technology. We have a unified and seamless experience to see everything globally. And clients can see immediate ROI because this is a SaaS solution. You don't need to invest $1 onboarding on implementing our solution. You can see an immediate ROI from day one. Some of our global footprint currently. We are about 750 employees across the globe. We are globally ourselves, obviously. We are supporting over 160 countries, and we have more than 1,500 clients. 30% of them are global Fortune 5,000 companies that are processing thousands of employees with us. We raised $440 million to date from leading US investors.
So what, in terms of complexity, how many countries, maximum number of countries does a single customer use you for? Is it 20, 30, or?
So it really, I mean, everyone has a different strategy. I mean, some of our clients have a strategy of, work from anywhere, so they can get to 60 countries with very small workforce per country. And then you have another strategy, which honestly, personally, I think tend to be more efficient and easier to implement, which is global hubs or working by business centers. And then you can find between 10 to 25 countries per client.
Okay.
We are growing very quickly. We are still growing in 3x year-over-year. In the past 3 years, we'll do it this year as well. Our net retention is very high, over 160% from client base, and our logos retention is 95%. So Papaya is a very sticky solution. Clients are adapting it and implementing it and growing with it quite quickly in the organization. Some of our logos, we can see that we have a good mix and match of a global multinational organization, a young enterprise, and eventually companies that care about consolidation, care about data accuracy, and care about We can support our clients on two very, very unique models. So we are supporting the full, what the traditional industry calls BPO. So full payroll service, we can provide an end-to-end solution along with our trusted network to the client. But we have a very unique model, which we believe that eventually in the next few years will become the main model that we will see in the industry. Transforming your current traditional and great payroll partners that you have on ground to be a part of Papaya solution, so we can provide or we can implement our software on any in-country partner that you already have, and then you can get immediate ROI without the hassle of transitioning everything on ground on the administration side very quickly, very, very cost effective, and I mean, bring an amazing value to the organization. As we said before, we are doing everything ourselves. You don't need to bring any integrator when you are working with us. All of our integrations kits are eventually out of the box and very customizable by our team.
So in a bit, what percentage of your customers are using your service, the BPO service, versus the licensing?
Yeah, we don't call it BPO because I think that this is kind of an old language. But I think that currently we still have about 80% of our clients that will come to us and will want us to take the full liability and provide our own in-country partners. But the licensing model is really kind of growing very quickly because first, a lot of the partners that we are already seeing with our the clients that wants us to replace anyhow the current kind of traditional or very manual workforce are partners that are part of our network. So, I mean, we don't need to replace them. We are just engaging to on ground. This is not the right solution is not to replace them. The right solution is actually improve them and get them the right tool to give you a better outcome. When we're looking on payroll is never only the numbers, is never only the compliance and eventually kind of part of it. This is whole the support around it. So we have support for global equity management, which is becoming a key issue around the globe. We are managing and we are processing global benefits plans, and we are eventually creating the end-to-end solutions for immigration and everything that is related to local government requirements.
So all the tax payments, all the reporting.
Yes,
so, okay.
That's correct. Payroll data security. So payroll is actually the most sensitive data in the organization. If I have your personal data that is coming from the payroll files that you just filled, I can hack your identity quite easily. I can be you on almost every system in the world, and a data breach risk is a very big risk to the organization. Currently, it's also becoming one of the biggest targets for hackers. This is a large, normally process. I mean, it's very, very sensitive to the organization. It's involved a lot of money and a lot of liability. This is why we're investing heavily in security. We believe that it's not only about creating a seamless process, but it's also to secure your data in a way that you are also protected and you don't create any breach in the process, not for the organization, not for the individuals. We are obviously working on a cloud, currently using mainly AWS. I mean, we are operating from few data centers based on GDPR regulation and eventually kind of clients' needs. We hold quite a lot of security and privacy certificates from ISO to GDPR privacy regulation certificate, SOC 1 and SOC 2, and CSA Star, which is a new and very important certificate on the security and assurance and risks.
Now, when you process employees and you process contractors, the liability, if there is people want to classify, the government said, no, that's an employee. And so that is with the customer, right? That's not your responsibility. How do you?
So we offer classification as a service as well. This is not a core service, but we can offer classification service as well. We are a very big believer in eventually guiding our clients through their global journey and assuring that they understand everything, they understand the risks. One of the biggest advantage of Papaya is that we are really agnostic to the service. So we don't have an interest. We don't want all of your employees eventually end up as an EOR employees or as contractors because this is what we do for a living. We do everything so we really can kind of create a place where we can be your trusted advice. So currently, it's still quite amazing to see that payroll validation on the ongoing basis is being done by people line after line manually. It's almost impossible, mainly on the very, very short time frame of payroll, and always the stress not to have mistakes. And we always need to remember that if you are mistaken in one payslip, it's 100% mistake for specific individuals. So it's also a very non-rewarding role, I would say, in general. We have a compliance intelligence engine where we can identify and mark quite quickly if we have compliance gaps and things that needs to be corrected. We have everything that is related to automated process on validation and verification. And the most important thing is that we reduce the labor intensive processes that is currently a part of the payroll. We save hours on those processes and make it much more efficient. The nice thing I like about Papaya is how we are dealing with every individual separately, breaking the process of the payroll to very, very small bits, and then we can connect it to a nice picture,
Sure.
at the end, and you can really kind of slice and dice the data to whatever you need it. So eventually we are kind of a financial system in the organization, but our data is being used by the HR team, by the management team. We are very proud that we are also bringing the insights of the workforce to the table. So we are creating a nice dashboard that are related to ESG and things that can really kind of provide you the intel that is coming from the payroll data. Normally, the problem with payroll data is that you are not really combining it together, so you don't see the full picture. With Papaya, you have a full BI access. This whole data is being kind of compiled and unified into one place where you can create really amazing insight and intelligence. We have out-of-the-box integrations kit that are very, very easy to take live with Papaya, and we constantly add more and more integration. So all of our integrations are seamless. They don't need an integrator. You can connect everything around you to Papaya quite nicely and seamlessly. We have a very unique partnership with NetSuite. We are the only global payroll certified company currently that can connect directly to NetSuite Oracle. We are certified by Workday, and we have few other partnership in place that we can connect.
And the integration is typically from their financials to your payroll, or is it also in their operational systems?
So the integration normally it starts from the HCM and ends on the payroll. So the data flow starts from the HCM, goes to Papaya, and then go to the financial systems. Currently, we have few others integrations that we see the needs, and we are connecting commission systems, expenses reports that we are already supporting, yes. Time and attendance we are also connecting, and so on. So it's really kind of everything that feeds the payroll data for the organization.
Okay.
Let's speak about what for us, this is the bigger, the really kind of bringing our vision together, and this is payroll payments. Currently, when we speak with our clients, we realize that they have two big pains. One of them is processing the payroll data, and the second is processing the payroll payments. As we all know, opening a local bank account is a very, very, very hard task these days. Eventually, sending funds to employees under payroll needs to be localized. In the majority of the case, payroll is a very local transaction and a very local process. And it's also what we call super transactions, because payroll transaction will impact a lot of things in your relationship as an individual. It can impact your credit history. It can impact actually your insurance costs and liabilities. And a bank sees it as a very important transactions. But payroll is not one transaction. It's actually 4 or 5 transactions, because you are paying employee net amounts, you are paying to the authorities, you are paying to taxes, and every single transactions locally requires their own routing, their own reference code, and everything that has been dictated locally by the government. We took it as a challenge 2 years ago to solve this messy global payroll payments process as well. And we just launched recently our first global payroll payments. Internally, we are doing everything on our technology. We can monitor and eventually see every single transactions and see the success of that. we can shorten the payroll process time to 3 days, to up to 3 days, which is amazing because currently it's still between 10 to 14 days. And we can create a full secure kind of process. You don't need to do anything manually. Once you approve the payroll cycle, we fund the whole payroll process from your accounts on a secure way. You don't need to handle with 100 different transactions.
This is almost more helpful than calculating the payroll.
You are only the third person that tells me that today. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but thank you.
Well, it's a messy, I mean, it's, you know,
I agree.
Messy around.
But, you know, if you don't have the data correct, so you will pay me, but it's not going to be correct. If you'll have the data and you won't pay me, that's not going to be good as well. So it's really like a very, very good combination of having two of them happens both together and correctly. So CyberArk is a great case study of ours because CyberArk is one of the leading cybersecurity companies in the world. Their standard in everything that is related to how they process data, sensitive data, how they process payroll is very, very high. When we started to work with CyberArk, they had a lot of vendors around the world that manage their payroll. Papaya consolidated everything for them under one system and really created a place where they can see a trusted workforce kind of picture. Analysts use it for the financial reports. CFO use it for headcount and planning. Obviously, I mean, they are doing the whole payroll cycle and flow through Papaya. And they are creating a secured place where they are also have zero mistakes, but also a quiet environment in terms of data breach, security, and so on. So I think that in this case, this is for them really stand behind what they sell to their clients and getting the maximum out of the processes that they do.
So two questions, you know, in most of the customers, what do you find? Where do they migrate from? Are they on an existing payroll and they're moving over to you? Are they with the ADP and they're moving to you? What would you say? Is there a trend in what you're seeing?
I see the biggest trend that I see is that the pain is there for everyone, okay? And everyone feels that it's broken and everyone feels they hate the current environment. Now, the other trend that I would say that we see is that clients currently, even if they implemented a solution like ADP, they didn't went live with 100% of their workforce. They started with a region, they stopped because they felt that it's maybe too labor intensive, too costly, and so on, does not really bring them the value. And then they started having a cluster of suppliers. So some of them are manually because, I mean, some of the locations are small. Some of them, they brought another providers, and it's a total chaotic environment. And we start to kind of pile this for them. This is broken for years. I mean, we've been here for years and it hasn't happened. And as we saw before, we end up with quite happy clients and with clients that are growing quite substantially with Papaya. And this is really our vision, to assure that Papaya is the heart of the organization, exactly as you have HCM that you trust for the HR and ERP that you trust for the financial, that you have Papaya that you trust for the global workforce.
I heard of a company, I won't name them, but which is in the business, has a lot of employee data. And they have offered a service to other employers because they can track if an employee is working 2 or 3 jobs. Now you go,
this is becoming a very, very, very big concern. We see it a lot. You know, I mean, the funny thing is sometimes it's pop up in our system because they're working 2 or 3 jobs and their employers are using us. And this is something that actually we had an internal dispute. Are we part of this kind of, do we need to raise a flag or not? Probably not, because we are the administrator. But I agree that this is becoming a very big concern. And I also think that, as we said before, it's a broken process for the government, because as an employer, you cannot get a visibility to this from the government. So the only one that can is the employee that is actually that actually owns those jobs.
Well,
so there is a lot of trends.
Privacy concerns and all that when you start, complex issue.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.